Hey guys, welcome back to the Kool-Aid Podcast. Welcome back to another video. On today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about Frenkie de Jong as there is some updates in regards to his contract renewal. We're going to be talking about Rafa Yuste, the Barça vice president, as he spoke about a variety of different Barcelona topics. And then towards the end of the video, I want to be talking about Ter Stegen as we now have a date on when he's going to be undergoing surgery for those lower back problems. But before I do, guys, make sure to follow me on all of my social media platforms. Everything's posted down below in the description. Go over there and check me out. That way you guys to stay up to date with everything that I do on the channel. And as well, the link to become a member is also posted down below. But as always, guys, let's get started with the video. All right, guys, let's get started with the video and let's talk about Frenkie de Jong because as we do know, after a very successful second half of the season, of this past season, Barcelona, they sort of changed their tunes on Frenkie de Jong. And I have sort of, I'm still on the mindset of, hey, if a big offer comes for Frenkie de Jong, then I'm all for it. But then at the same time, I'm thinking, yeah, even if Barcelona get big money for Frenkie, who are we going to replace him with? We could bring in someone from La Masia and 80 90 million euros for Frenkie. I think that'd be a good move, but still Barcelona, they want to keep him. Frenkie de Jong, he wants to stay as well. And so Mundo Deportivo is reporting that Barcelona, they've offered him a 2-year extension until 2028 with a performance-based option for 2029. But Barcelona, they are still waiting for Frenkie de Jong to give the green light to begin negotiations due to a legal dispute between Frenkie de Jong and his current agent Ali Dursun, and until that agreement is formally ended, Barcelona cannot start negotiations. And so right now we're sort of on a hiatus. This is sort of on a pause before we can start those contract extension talks. But things are going well. Frenkie de Jong, he wants to stay. Barcelona, they want him to stay as well. And if Frenkie de Jong, if he is able to replicate that level that we saw from him in the second half of last season, not at the start or like the middle of last season, then we have very good players on our hands. And I think that Hansi Flick is getting more and more out of Frenkie de Jong. And let's see what type of performances Frenkie de Jong can put in this next upcoming season. But continuing on, guys, I now want to be talking about Rafa Yuste. As Rafa Yuste, he talked about a variety of different Barcelona topics. He talked about the squad. He talked about this upcoming season. He talked about Deco. And he also talked about Ter Stegen. Rafa Yuste, his quotes on the squad for the upcoming season were as follows. He says, "Now I'm going to go back to talk with Deco. We still have a few things to discuss, but I'm very happy with what we have. With what I see the coach has, we've brought in Rashford, also Roony, who is standing out. All good." He gave his opinion on Deco and the one-to-one rule, and he says Deco has done an extraordinary job. And now we are finalizing possible additional revenue sources because, as you know, the one-to-one rule is changing, either through external investors or through a sponsor that the commercial department is working on. Now, I know that Deco, there's a lot of criticisms going towards him, and rightfully so. I wouldn't necessarily say that he's been perfect, but in some areas he has gotten it right. Danny Olmo, fantastic player. Did we slightly overpay? Potentially. Was he a player that we needed? Potentially not. There's a lot of question marks in regards to Deco and his performance as a sporting director. Yuste, he talks about the player registrations. He says, We'll finish fine-tuning things with Deco. We're optimistic, and I trust everything will work out soon. And in regards to Rafa Yuste, this is all in the midst of him potentially leaving Barcelona, as Mundo Deportivo is reporting that Al Nassr, they have given him a significant financial offer. They have given him an offer, and most likely he's going to be leaving Barcelona. And you never want to see your top executives leave Barcelona, but if Saudi Arabia is calling you, if they're putting in big amounts of cash for you to leave Barcelona, then who am I to stop you? You're not a player. You're not, I would say, closely affiliated to Barcelona in that sense. You could want and feel that desire to see Barcelona thrive, but at the end of the day, this is a job. You want to make sure that you secure your family's security. You want to make sure you enjoy what you do, and in a new chapter for his life, who knows? And if Rafa Yuste does leave, they are reporting that Joan Soler would be the leading candidate to replace him as vice president, and that would be interesting. We're gonna have to see how that change is dictated, but overall, Rafa Yuste, I think he's done a good job so far. Necessarily, he's done a fantastic job alongside Joan Laporta on rebuilding the club. Necessarily, Rafa Yuste, he talks about the return date to the Spotify Camp Nou. He says, "I refer to the president's words. We don't want to put more pressure on ourselves by giving more dates. All Barca fans are excited, but it depends on many factors, and we want absolute safety for all members." And according to reports, Barcelona, they underwent a security test, sort of like a trial run on the systems, the lighting, the fire alarm, everything else, the security as well, just to see if Barcelona were actually able to seat some fans, not the entire stadium because it's still being remodeled and everything, but have some fans be in the stadium, as Barcelona, they do plan on playing the Spotify Camp Nou in the next upcoming weeks. It's not 100% confirmed, but that is planned. You say he talks about Ter Stegen's situation, and he says, "Is something that depends entirely on the team and the coach. It's not my place to analyze it. It's an internal decision. Maximum respect for the player, and we have to stand by our players no matter what." And I think that was a good response. Rafa Yuste, not involved in the day-to-day activities out there on the pitch. Absolutely not. He's more on the back end stuff, the office, the board, and everything like that. Leave that job to Hansi Flick and Deco. That's the role that both of them have. Rafa Yuste is something completely different, and so I'm glad that he didn't necessarily comment and add fuel to the flame. And in regards to Ter Stegen, guys, Ter Stegen, he's said to be undergoing surgery in these next upcoming days. According to reports, according to Sport, he will be undergoing surgery tomorrow, and he's going to be supervised by Barcelona's medical staff. And right now, the recovery timeline, Ter Stegen, he said it was 3 months. Barcelona thinks it's going to be even longer, but it will be La Liga's independent medical commission that will review the reports and view his injury and decide whether Barcelona can use 80% of Ter Stegen's salary in order to register Joan Garcia. And that's what Barcelona, they plan to do, have those wages off the wage bill and be able to register Joan Garcia. Let's see what happens, guys. Yeah, Ter Stegen, a lot of hate going towards him, rightfully so. You guys know my opinions on Ter Stegen. He's a player that I've wanted out of Barcelona for many years, and at this point, I'm glad that everyone is on board. But the damage has been done. Barcelona, we could have won a lot more in these past couple of years if we actually had a superb keeper in goal. But we want Ter Stegen recovering very quickly. That way we can sell him on. We can sell him. We can get out of the club, because him staying at the club, it's not going to be good for anyone necessarily. You don't want that toxicity at Barcelona. You want to make sure everything is calm and in a positive environment in which our players can work towards. And if you have a keeper who's very unhappy and who's creating headlines, you don't want that. You don't want that. It doesn't allow you to work. And let's see what happens. But guys, that was it for the Barcelona news of the day. Definitely let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments. What do you guys make of everything I've discussed in today's video? And as always, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out.